something that shouldn't have been in such depths, yet its presence gave us a big warning. Just a month ago we heard many reports that deep-sea creatures were coming out of the ocean in large numbers. Could this be the reason behind it? One day in 2013, deep-sea scientist Andrew Sweetman and his team wanted to check on the health of deep-water animals. They sensed that deep-sea creatures in this particular area might be in significant danger. In the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, CCZ, which is in the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and Mexico, they needed to find out how quickly oxygen levels decreased in such deep waters of the ocean. Because, as we've been taught, 80% of oxygen production happens on the ocean's surface through photosynthesis by plants, algae, phytoplankton and some bacteria. And then this oxygen dissolves and goes into the deeper layers of the ocean, which keeps marine life alive. This means that oxygen levels gradually decrease as you go into the deeper layers of the ocean because naturally, all the fish above use it up. But what Andrew Sweetman saw during his research was completely strange. Instead of decreasing, oxygen levels were actually increasing rapidly with depth. Even though all the fish were using oxygen, it wasn't decreasing, it was increasing. In some areas, they even found more oxygen in the deep sea than in the surface water. This observation was so weird that Andrew and his team couldn't believe it at first. They had to test again, using different measurement equipment. And in the end, they finally confirmed that, yes, there is something in the dark depths of the ocean that is producing this unknown oxygen. They named it the dark oxygen. But how exactly was this dark oxygen being produced, and how did it manage to stay hidden from us for so long? Were those bizarre and jointed creatures of the deep sea actually dependent on this dark oxygen? Did this dark oxygen play any role in the evolution of their lives? All these questions honestly just kept bothering Andrew. And then, Andrew's attention turned to a really interesting observation. Do you remember at the beginning I mentioned that Andrew was worried the deep-sea creatures might be in danger? So, what was the reason behind that? Well, it's because this Clarion-Clipperton Zone, is actually a super famous area, specifically for deep-sea mining. It's literally like a money-printing machine for billionaires because, according to research, just this one area alone contains trillions of dollars worth of metals and minerals. If we try to evaluate that in numbers, the figure comes out to be around $16 to $17 trillion. Just imagine, trillions of dollars worth of metals and minerals are present here. Among the most in-demand metals are things like manganese, nickel, and cobalt, and get this, about 75 to 85% of those are found right here, from just a single source. And that source? It's those small, potato-shaped stones called polymetallic nodules. These stones are so rare that they take millions of years to form, and yes, nature creates them. During this time, metals and minerals slowly deposit layer by layer. And the most interesting thing is that such stones are spread across a 9 million square kilometer area on the seabed in this region, with a total quantity of about 21 billion tons. Could these stones hold a clue to the dark oxygen? This was the question that came to Andrew and his team's minds. But who could answer this question? There was only one person who was the king of ocean chemistry, and an old colleague of Andrew's, Dr. Franz Gehr. But it wasn't going to be easy for Dr. Gehr, because some powerful people who wanted to make billions were after these two scientists. In 1980, some digging was done in this area, just for testing, and the entire ecosystem was destroyed. 70 to 80% of the creatures were wiped out, to the extent that even after 45 years they haven't recovered. We tend to think that the entire deep sea is just one ecosystem, but that's a big mistake. It's like saying because I live in Mumbai, the whole world is like Mumbai. If you find Bengal tigers in India, you find kangaroos and ostriches in Australia, and polar bears in the Arctic. But the deep sea has even more diversity than that. Here, each trench, meaning deep tunnels, has different species that have evolved only for that world. But the sad thing is, despite so much clear evidence, a powerful lobby has emerged that is openly denying it, like the metals company, TMC. You know what's most ironic? This very TMC company itself funded the initial deep-sea research through scientists, but when the bitter truth came out, they tried to suppress it completely. TMC called the findings of both scientists flawed and misleading, and even started blaming Nature Geoscience Journal, which is a proper, peer-reviewed scientific journal. Are dollars more important to these billionaires and companies than the ocean's delicate lungs? Well, there was only one way to stop them, and it was within the power of these two scientists. Well, Dr. Franz remembered that a long time ago. He had proven through a lab experiment that salty ocean water, under certain conditions, can interact with rusted metals to produce electricity. So, just like an underwater battery, could these underwater polymetallic nodules be using a similar reaction to release oxygen? I mean, are there like billions of underwater batteries hidden in the dark depths of the ocean, all producing this so-called dark oxygen? Sounds a bit weird, right? Well, testing this idea was absolutely necessary. So, once again, both scientists brought samples of these rocks to the lab and put them in salty water, kind of like the deep sea environment, but this time, they attached 2 electrodes to the surface of the rocks and measured it with a voltmeter. And they were shocked, I mean both emotionally and literally, because 0.95 volts of electricity was actually produced. Now, in 23, this research was properly validated, and statistical data also confirmed that the link between voltage and oxygen production is consistent. And then finally, in 24, this study was published in a proper peer-reviewed scientific journal, Nature Geoscience, because the evidence was truly convincing. However, on September 24th, the metals company issued an unusually large reply, containing a lot of raw data and research notes challenging that this discovery was completely flawed. They claimed that they had spent $75 million funding research for 12 years to mine in an honest and sustainable way in order to extract minerals and produce clean energy. But how much can this company's word be trusted? It's like the cat claiming to be the most honest guardian of the milk. Their conflict of interest is clear. But in this issue, COMERC, or the Critical Ocean Minerals Research Center, also got involved, calling this discovery a yellow flag because they claimed that 2 other researchers had done the same experiment before, but did not get such results. For example, the University of Southern Denmark did similar research but used a different type of lender covariance lender and got the opposite result. Oxygen was decreasing instead of increasing. So, was Andrew and his team's research proven wrong? Well, not at all, because Andrew's research received more support than criticism. But as of now, June 25, the good news is that despite the heavy pressure, millions of dollars spent, and lobbying by these mining companies, most deep marine scientists and their confidence have led 33 countries to support a ban, or at least a temporary hold on deep-sea mining. That's why the International Union for Conservation of Nature, a global authority, has placed a temporary hold on deep-sea mining until we fully understand all the risks associated with it. But the bitter truth is that deep-sea mining is just a small preview of our human carelessness. Take a look at this area. Its size is as vast as 2 Pakistans, but this isn't land, it's a pile of trash. Yes, a pile of trash as vast as 2 Pakistans or 3 Rajasthans, right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And this is just the main pile, where the trash is extremely concentrated in the water, and in some areas, it's even solid concentration. But if you count its soft edges too, this area becomes a patch larger than India. A 2014 study reported that there are at least 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic here, weighing a total of 269,000 tons. And because of just this one patch, you won't believe it. Every year 1 million seabirds and 100,000 marine mammals die, either by eating something poisonous, getting trapped in piles of plastic, or getting caught in stray nylon fishing nets here. And the most concerning thing is that this is not the only garbage patch in the world. Look, there are at least 5 major garbage patches like this in the world, and who knows how many minor ones there might be. You know, listen to a story from a retired naval officer and researcher, Victor Vescovo. In his 5 Deeps expedition, he decided to go to the deepest point of all 5 oceans, and as soon as he got there, plastic bags and wrappers greeted him. But as I continue going along the bottom, cruising around, I did see 2, be 1 or 2 particles, man matter. One of them had a letter on it printed. Just imagine plastic is reaching all the way down to these deep tunnels, like 11 kilometers beneath the water. Now, the biggest problem is that this plastic, well, it's never really going to go away. It just won't break down naturally, ever. For centuries, it's just going to keep accumulating, and that's super toxic for fish and their whole ecosystem. Let me tell you why. The way we're, being careless, according to several reports, by the year 2040, the amount of plastic in our oceans is going to triple. That means there will actually be more plastic than fish in the sea. Just imagine that. And this was about macro, or large-sized plastics, which means that microplastics will multiply even faster in the ocean. According to a 2017 study, today, plastics and microplastics are found in the stomachs of 71% of seabirds and 30% of turtles. 50% of these animals die from choking because of it. A study by Portland University even found that 99% of the fish Americans were eating contained traces of microplastics. Another research found these microplastics in 100% of fish samples. Today, because of this, The situation is such that an average person consumes 78,000 to 21,000 microplastic particles in food and drink every year. You won't believe it, when a University of New Mexico research studied 51 brain samples, it was found that every single brain sample contained more plastic than a credit card. Yes, 5% of the brain's mass, which is 6 to 7 grams of pure plastic the size of a credit card just inside your brain. Imagine how much there would be in the lungs, kidneys, and other organs. And note, this test was done on American people.